Hello, I'm Jermaine and want to talk a little bit about my creation of my new mixed martial art called MUAY THAI SPRAWL. It's the martial art that is now happening at Andre's Academy. Everybody's doing it there, and also it's available online. If you're not in town where you can train under me and come to my academy, you can actually get access to it through the internet. Well, the best way to explain any type of martial art, I feel, is to explain the creation of it, is to go through your who, what, when, where, whys, and to answer all of those. That should give a good understanding as to if this is a good martial art for you. There's tons of martial arts out there, and most martial arts were actually created during a time for certain reasons, for certain types of people to fight against certain types of people in a certain situation. So this is why, through my years and many years of experience from childhood and up, and experience in the fight world, the professional world of Muay Thai kickboxing, shoot boxing, mixed martial art, cage fighting, bare knuckle fighting, and of course security, bodyguarding, all this type of work that I've been involved in, I feel that there is a need for a new type of martial art for today's people. And so that's why I created what I call MUAY THAI SPRAWL. But first, let's start off with the who, what, when, where's, and whys. You want to say who. Who created the martial art? What's their credentials? What's their experience? And more importantly, what's their mentality? What was the state of their mentality when they created the art? Was it a bloodthirsty individual who was just out taking over towns and chopping off heads, and that's what this art was created for? That's the ideology that this art follows. That's the heart that this art tries to put, and the intent that it tries to put into its students. But credentials, first of all, very important. And of course, if you know me, it's Jermaine Andre. You know who I am, you know what I've done. If you don't know me, I've been in martial arts ever since I was a child. All of my martial art experience started with actual street fighting. I trained in the martial arts, and I had to use my martial arts skills to defend myself and my friends for real on the streets. So I became very good at it. I then entered actual bare knuckle fighting and bare knuckle Muay Thai, even with lesser rules than Muay Thai kickboxing has. Then I went professional. I fought submission fighting. I fought shoot box, also wrestled in high school. I boxed. I fought professional Muay Thai kickboxing, professional mixed martial arts. I've taken 5 U.S. titles, 2 world titles in the United States Martial Arts Hall of Fame. I'm not just a local fighter. I fought out of my state all over the world. I fought in Japan, fought in Hawaii, fought in Canada. I fought top opponents, great opponents for the fights the titles that I took. And I've also fought in Las Vegas. I fought many places all over the United States. So as far as credentials goes in the fight game, in the martial art world, even though I've had a huge fight career, I actually am not a fighter. I've never even been a person who enjoyed fighting. I only fought to extend my martial art experience and to better my martial art experience, and for other reasons of honor, rather than to be a person who likes to beat people up. I was never someone who just wanted to go beat somebody up. That was never my style. That was never my heart. So in regards to credentials also, I spent over 10 to 15 years in bodyguard work and bouncer work. So I had to deal with a lot of true life and death situations, dealing with, nightclubs and fights and knives and sticks and biker chains and guns and taking guns away from people, getting into firefights, all that type of stuff. I've been involved in that also. Okay, so that kind of covers my experience and my credentials of why I would have the right to create a martial art. So anytime a martial art was created, even back in historical times, it was by someone who had war experience, who had fighting experience in that area, in the type of fighting that they were participating in, whether it was with spears and knives, bare hands, cannons, or whatever it was. That person who developed that martial art was someone who was actively fighting and had good experience and credentials in dominating most of the people that he or she faced. So keep that in mind. In regards to mentality, like I said, I was never a bloodthirsty fighter. You can watch my fights and you'll see I always chose honor before glory. Even when I won, I didn't want to embarrass my honored opponent. I wanted to help him up, make sure he was okay, even though I went in with full heart to destroy him while we were competing against each other in the martial arts. Of course, he was a great martial artist, so was I. If he didn't have the thought in his mind that we could hurt each other, then he shouldn't have been in there. So just because I'm saying I had compassion towards my fellow man doesn't mean I'm not a warrior either. So that covers the who when it comes to who created, Muay Thai Sprawl. I always compare it just like you would compare it to who created karate, who created taekwondo, who created Krav Maga, who created jiu-jitsu, who created all these other arts. So now you know who with this one. Okay, what was the art created for? You know, was it created to fight soldiers? Was it created to fight on horseback? Was it created to fight while you're chained? You know, capoeira, I know, was created for slaves when they were chained. You know, so how does this convert to today when you're not chained? You know, the disciplines, there are similar disciplines between them. You know, was this designed to fight non-aggressive attackers? A lot of martial art techniques are used to subdue someone who isn't fighting. You know, a lot of martial art skills that police and security are handed are used against somebody who's actually given up, but they just haven't totally gave up yet. But it's not designed for somebody, you know, a big muscle-bound, crazed jerk who's trying to rip their head off and make it an attack. So you always want to know what it was created for. You know, nowadays, especially with the MMA fad, you have to ask yourself, was this created for sport or ring and cage fighting? Some arts are great arts. For instance, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu is a ground fighting art. It's beautiful for inside the cage of the ring where you have a referee and others can't come and get in, or you have a nice smooth surface where you don't have to worry about laying on a piece of glass or, you know, something like that and cutting yourself up, or somebody coming in and kicking you in the head while you're putting an armbar on someone. So you still have to know, what was this art created for? What was the reason for it? So Muay Thai Sprawl was created. My first intention with Muay Thai Sprawl was self-defense. And this came from the fact that even though as a sport fighter and my participation in mixed martial arts, Muay Thai and all that, there was something more important that came before sport fighting. And that was bodyguarding and bouncer work, because that's where my life was really in danger. So when I created this, the first thing I want to do is say a person has to have self-defense. They have to have awareness to be able to avoid fights, to be able to avoid confrontations, because no matter how great a martial artist you are, a greater fighter you are, any kind of street fight can go bad. And if you know me, you know I have a saying that I say, no one ever wins a street fight. The reason why, because even if you and I meet up and I beat the crap out of you and knock you out, you're going to come back for me later from behind. You're going to bring some extra guys. You might even introduce a weapon. So there is no winner in a street fight. So my first thing was awareness, verbal judo, you know, all of these things that a person can do to avoid fighting and avoid confrontations. Okay. So when it was created, that was the first reason. The second reason was fitness and fun, because truthfully and honestly, most of the people who participate in martial arts today are doing it for fitness and fun, if they're not doing it for self-defense. They're trying to get in shape. You know, our health is a threat. That is an enemy nowadays. We know 80% of the United States is obese. You got diabetes, you got high blood pressure, you got stress. All these things just take people out every single day. So Muay Thai Sprawl helps you to relieve bad energy and to maintain good energies, and to help you to be healthy and live a healthy life, so you're avoiding off all these attacks that aren't actually a physical human being or something like that. Okay. And of course, the last thing Muay Thai Sprawl was created for, that I kept in mind when I designed it, was for a competition, for the fighting arena. And I'm speaking Muay Thai kickboxing, shoot boxing, Chinese Sanchow kickboxing, and MMA. So it was designed for that also. Okay, so that helps you out with what was this art designed for? When, you know, what time era was it created for? Was this created during the time of horse and carriage, slaves and servants, emperors and kings? You know, most of your martial arts were created during a time that's not like modern times. Things aren't like it is now. It's not, you don't have the laws that you know now, or you didn't have the laws back then that you have now. You're not dealing with police officers in the way, you're not even dealing with criminals in the same way that you were back then. Nowadays, you know, someone may come up and snatch your purse, or someone may come up and just grab something from you. You can't really pull out your gun and shoot them, or pull out your knife and stab them. You know, you get into a little scuffle in a bar or something like that, you can only go so far. So the time is the martial art modern. And when I created Muay Thai Sprawl, it was created for now. You know, that's what I kept in mind, that this is created for today, to a person's needs for fighting in the world today. I have techniques like what you call passive techniques. Everything doesn't have to be a punch in the jaw or an elbow to the head or a knee to the groin. Sometimes just a small push and a word to get a person off it. Sometimes it's just a grab escape. You know, we know that one of the main things we deal with is domestic abuse. You know, a boyfriend grabbing his girlfriend for the first time, you know, and he doesn't mean anything abusive yet, but he's grabbing her for the first time, and you know, she uses a move and snatches out without having to rip his eyeball out. You know, but now she just set the standard with him that, hey, abuse isn't going to go this way, and he's looking and saying, oh wow, she knows how to handle herself. That may have stopped that situation and helped them to better their relationship. So I kept that in mind, that when the time, the era that these people are using this today, there's going to be legalities they have to deal with. There's going to be situations where they have to be passive. There's going to be situations where, you know, you may be way weaker than the person who's attacking you. This isn't the time of cavemen and, you know, when everybody was in shape eating raw meat. So as soon as somebody attacks you, you're going to aggressively attack back and destroy them. You know, this is a time where we're all more laid back. So you may get attacked and not be ready to fight like that. So I kept that in mind when I designed Muay Thai Sprawl. Where was this martial art created? Very, very important. What kind of terrain? You know, Rocky Mountains, grass, you know, streets. You know, this was Muay Thai Sprawl was created for a street fight, for concrete. You know, building structures. You know, the weather. What was the weather like in the area where this martial art was created? Fighting on stairs, fighting on the street. So when I designed Muay Thai Sprawl, I made sure that I kept in mind that you may have to use this on the stairs. And you have techniques that you can use getting into a fight on the stairs or in the car. You may be sitting in the car, or your daughter sitting in the car, and she's out with the local football jock who's not a good guy, and he makes the wrong move on her. Can she get out of that car? Yes, she can with Muay Thai Sprawl type techniques. I kept all this in mind, that you have different situations. You may be caught in the elevator with someone. You know, you may get jumped by several people. So you may have a suit on, you may have your high heels on, and you're going to work. You know, can you use the martial art that you have when you're in those type of situations? So I kept that in mind on where you may be when you have to use Muay Thai Sprawl. And then of course, you know, the last and not least, you know, why? Why should you learn it? Why should you learn any martial art? The martial art that you pick, why should you learn it? Should you learn it because it's popular? Should you learn it because your friend says it's cool? Should you learn it because it's going to make you look cool? You can brag about it. Why are you learning this? You know, most people study martial arts and learn it so they can feel like they're safe, or so they can brag to their friends and say, hey, I'm taking the most popular known martial art. I know that. But is that really going to protect you? So you have to really think about these types of things. So, you know, what's your current situations? You know, why would you have to use it? You know, there's different techniques that different types of people have to use. A bouncer needs different techniques than a insurance salesperson who's a lady who wears high heels and enters people's homes every day. You know, so this is different types of stuff. There's different legalities there. You know, a bodyguard, just like me when I was a bodyguard, everything that I trained was deadly force. And the reason why is because if somebody's coming at a bodyguard, me as a bodyguard, and I have to use my stuff, is to protect the life of my client. So my training differed as a bodyguard from my training as a bouncer. Well, I'm working in a nightclub, it's not deadly force. Now it's restraining and subduing a free American citizen, which differs from fighting MMA in a cage. You know, I can't be an MMA fighter and go to the bar and some guys get a little drunk and get a little silly and I go start unloading on him with jab crosses and throw him in the arm bar or pick him up and slam him on his neck. That's not going to be appropriate. So you got to keep in mind why. Why am I learning this? Why may I need to use it? And I kept that in mind when I designed Muay Thai Sprawl, of why people of today, of this modern time, would need to use the martial arts and what types of techniques they would need to use. And this is why Muay Thai Sprawl is not one-dimensional. It begins with stand-up. You do learn how to defend yourself if you go to the ground, but of course on the streets today, self-defense, situations stuff like that, you want to stay off the ground. You don't want to be on your back trying to fight because it can introduce people coming in. It shuts down your escape in case you do need to run because you're losing or something like that. So keeping all that in mind on why you need to, I also mixed in other martial arts, techniques from karate, techniques from kung fu, techniques from jeet kune do that Muay Thai may not have. That's why it's called Muay Thai Sprawl, because the sprawl is a very important part of a street fight, of self-defense, because as soon as you smack somebody, well, bow, or they get nervous, what's the first thing they do? They try to grab you. Now, you don't want to go to the ground with this guy, so sprawling, the sprawling of wrestling, I mean, it's so beautiful, and you can even see through my fight career, it keeps the fight where you want to keep it, on the feet, so you can use more weapons, you can retreat if you need to, you can control the distance and the spacing. So, having said all of that, I hope you enjoy Muay Thai Sprawl and become a part of it. Of course, if you ever have any questions, hit me up on my Facebook page, Jermaine Andre, and ask me any questions. Please ask me so everybody can read and see it. You may have a good question. Don't send me private, because I like people to see the questions that get asked, so I give honest answers right then and there. But Muay Thai Sprawl is here. It's new. It's for people today. It's created by someone who deserves and has the right to create it. And I guarantee you, if you come and train Muay Thai Sprawl, you're going to love this, and you're going to become a part of the history of the new mixed martial art made for modern day people.